give us some background situation in China. I try to find since year 2000, Chinese economy have a lot of structural change. The first one, we can see the growth rate. I think in the 2007, China's growth rate reached a peak point, but after that it's slowed down. And the other is GDP's components. The secondary industry in GDP is reached the peak also in something like 2006. That is 47.6%. And also the net export contribution to the GDP growth also reached the peak around 2007. After that, we cannot return to so high, like 15%. The other is national saving rate, also recently is going down. I think it is very important to see the population structure change. One is labor supply. Labor supply, we can see is get reduced since 2013. So maybe related to the total dependence ratio also is going up very quickly. The other is because the labor cost is increase and also the land cost increase in the cost area. So structure, industrial reallocation. So I think the green one is for the manufacturer sectors, and the red one is services. Services is more concentrate, and the secondary industry is get move from the coast area to the central and the western area. So green one is going down. And we can see from the situation in China and outside, we can see now is the pressure of the Chinese economic transformation. One is globally, I think recently is global economic growth is slowed down, and the other is also the global population structure also changed. One is global population growth is going down, and also the structure also changed, like the total dependent ratio also is increase. And the other is in China, the factor price have rising very sharply, and China's low-cost competitiveness have declined. Because time is limited, so the population is, we just mentioned before, the population aging is accelerating. The total dependent ratio is going up, and it's very hard to sustain for the pattern of have high saving rate and large investment. And the other pressure is because we are getting closer to the cutting edge of the technology. The later mover advantage in technology progress have weakening. So I think for our economy also have some problem. One is low factor utilization efficiency and also efficiency of economic growth is very low. And the other problem is the various large disparity, very large disparity and non-inclusiveness of the economic development. Like recently, the regional income disparities increased since 2014, and also there is a very high Gini coefficient between the rural and urban, and also in the rural area also have a very high Gini coefficient. And the other problem is the rapid deterioration of the ecological and environmental and also insecure the sustainability of development. That is also a problem. So I think before we have high speed growth, economic growth is high speed, but it's low efficient and is not inclusive and also cannot sustainable. So since party congress, 19 party congress, we just say we should transfer from the high speed growth to the high quality development. So it's more high efficient, it's more inclusive and more sustainable. That is the goal for the transformation. So I'm sorry we still use CGE, but we hope we can just keep our model, model works. But we try to design several scenarios. One scenario is business as usual. That is based on the historic trend of Chinese economic development and the change of objective condition to be faced in the future. That's the baseline. And we also designed the 3 scenarios. One is innovative growth scenario. Second is inclusive growth scenario. And third is a sustainable growth scenario. And finally, we combine the 3 together. We just have the comprehensive scenario. So we just have this scenario simulation. For the baseline, we just assume the population and the labor are the exogenous based on the world population perspective by UN. And the urbanization rate is also exogenous, and increased by the 0.9 percentage point from the last 2 years. Thank you. And 0 percentage point from the 2021 to 2030. I think maybe recently the urbanization still grows, but it's slowed down a little bit. The supply of agricultural land is fixed. And also the taxes and the transfer payment remain unchanged point from the last 2 years. We're also keeping the current account in balance since from the 2020 to 2030. Growth of government consumption is exogenous, and the TFP is a little bit lower than the average rate in the past 3 decades. For the innovation growth scenario, we just assume the growth rate of skilled worker increased by 0.4 percentage point faster than the baseline. And the services, tax on the services will be lower by 20% gradually from the 2018 to 2030. And TFP growth rate is assumed to be the 0.1 percentage point faster than baseline. And the inclusive growth rate, scenario, we assume the urbanization rate is a little bit faster than baseline scenario. And also the government public services expenditure is grows a little bit. And we also suppose the consumption per capacity will be increased. And we also raising the government transfer payment to the poor people. And for the sustainable growth scenario, we just like the non-fossil energy account will for about 20% of the primary energy consumption in 2020. Energy efficiency will be increased a little bit, and also some carbon tax will increase. And finally, we have a comprehensive scenario. We just call it O. Just combine all of the three scenarios get together. The result is that is growth rate. I think maybe we can see that is 12-year, 5 years plan. That is 13 5-year plan period. That is can be the 14 5 years plan period, and the last one is from 2026 to the 2030. And we can see the saving rate is because the change of the aging structure, and so is the saving rate is a decrease. And decline in the speed of the technological progress and the rate of increase in efficiency is also an important cause for the decline of China's future economic growth in the baseline. And on the baseline, we also can see the decline in the labor supply caused by change of the total population and aging structure of the population will also drag down the China economic growth. The supply side impetus of the economic growth in the baseline still depends mainly on the input of capital, and the contribution of technological progress to the economic growth is still not high. The investment rate will be continue to fall, and also consumption rate is rising, and this is the consumption. This is red one is investment rate, and the other is the proportion of agriculture and the secondary industry will continue to decline, and the services industry will be continue to rise rapidly. And now I think maybe the services industry in the GDP is over 50% already. And And the slowdown in the investment growth and the downturn in the export demand will inhibit the sustainable and rapid growth of the manufacturing sectors, so making the proportion of secondary industry continue to decline. We also compare with Japan and South Korea in the different period. I think maybe we have the same trend. And for the baseline, the efficiency of economic growth has not improved or even worsened. This just shows the SAOR. I think the simulation results show that SAOR is about 16% higher than in the 2010 to 2015 in the baseline, and also in the baseline in the 2020 to 2030. That is now is higher than the previous period. And also the income inequality has not been very well improved. The baseline, the urbanization rate further progressed, but more rural population and the labor force entered the city and the non-agriculture industry. But the gap between the urban and the rural area continue to show a little bit downward. But income disparity between the rural and the urban does not show downward trend. The main cause is industry upgrading and the growth rate of traditional labor-intensive industry decline faster than wage of high-quality labor force rising fast. And then that of low-skilled labor force, the income is decline. So for the baseline, we think the pressure on the resources and the environmental continue to show is still upward trend. We can see the result. The peak of the carbon emission will not be appear by the 2030. That is the baseline. But we also can show some results for the innovation growth scenarios, and I think the time is limited, so I won't we just don't want to show them in detail. That is for the inclusive scenarios and also sustainable growth scenarios. Maybe finally we just show the results for comprehensive scenario, because that scenarios compare the above three scenarios, inclusive, sustainable, and high efficiency scenarios. So maybe for this scenario, technological progress and efficiency improvement will be most important source of economic growth. And the growth of consumer demand will continue more to the economic growth. That is show this is the consumption rate in GDP. We think maybe the red one is for the all comprehensive scenario. The blue one is baseline scenarios. That is show the consumption in GDP. And also this scenario show that the service industry will become the main driver for the economic growth. And also, because the shift of the driving force for the economic growth and the efficiency of economic growth will be also greatly improved. The driving by the faster technology progress and the efficiency improvement, both labor productivity and the capital efficiency will be improved to some extent. And also we think the inclusiveness of economic development obviously increased because we eliminate the barrier to mobility of urban and rural labor force, and the population. There will be more residents live in the urban area and more labor force in the non-agricultural sectors. So we also, I think maybe very important is the policy of poverty alleviation and tax adjustment, as well as the government subsidize. So the income distribution of rural and urban residents also improved. And for the sustainable aspect, we think maybe sustainability of economic development is obviously strengthened. Maybe we can see the we think maybe for this scenario, we think the peak of the CO2 emission can be reached around 2030. So the conclusion and the policy implication is we think the change in the objective development environment at home and abroad are important impetuses for the China's economic transformation. This transformation is not only reflected in fact that the rate of economic growth will shift from the high growth rate of about 10% in the past 30 years. Now it's to the medium speed growth rate, about 5%. But also the economic structure will shift towards the more consumption and the more services industry. And the change in the objective development environment at home and abroad cannot directly address the problem of China's low quality economic development. We think the efficiency of economic growth does not rise due to the decline growth rate and the structure change. And the situation of income inequality does not disappear naturally due to the growth of income. And the pressure on the resources and environmental does not decrease due to the slowdown the growth. So we think maybe to have successful transformation of China's economy is take a comprehensive measure to solve the problem in the aspect of efficiency, inclusiveness, and sustainability in the context and condition of new domestic and international development, and promote the development of high quality. As a result of the model show that the promote China's economic transformation is necessary to increase investment in innovation, create better ecological environment, and eliminate the obstacle to the free flow of the factor of production and improve the efficiency of the factor allocation. Sorry, that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Shantong, for this very interesting presentation. We have questions? Yes.
Shantong, thank you for this very exciting presentation. We've just been in China where we discussed with our colleagues the very same questions. And I have two. First, when you combine scenarios, for example, for sustainable growth and for innovation growth, when you move to sustainable energy, then your energy becomes more expensive, basically. So you might cut down a lower layer of factories, which, for example, produce their own energy from coal, they're very dirty, but you effectively close them down. And you might close down some businesses that are on the verge of profitability. So the first question is, how do you combine these two scenarios? Do you take into account their crossing points? That one scenario may influence another one. The second question, if I may, would be then comparing elasticities of labor. You have three kinds of labor in your model, as I've seen: agricultural labor, productive workers, and high-skilled workers. Our experience is that China had never a problem of labor resource, but rather labor placement, so to create jobs for everyone. And one job which would take a person often takes 9 persons, 12 persons. So you have a great resource of labor in these overstaffed jobs. What are the compared elasticities, thus, in different kind of labor? Does the low-skilled labor bear a high elasticity to the growth? Or is it not important? Maybe it might be negative, in fact. We had some models for some countries where low-skilled workers had negative impact. And in most countries of the world, the biggest elasticity is for middle-skilled workers, not for high-skilled. Thank you.
Would you like, would you prefer to collect questions or to answer?
Yes, okay.
Please go ahead and
okay.
answer to this one.
Okay. I think you have lots of experience in China because you ask the question is very tough. I think maybe recently, I think there is a lot of province like in the northeast or some around Beijing. There is some measure to closing down some pollutant industry. Maybe we can get more blue sky right now. But I think it's just one aspect. The other aspect is we still try to develop new energy, some like clean energy. So I think maybe one side is closing down some pollutant industry, but I think the other side, we also try to have new industry for the low new energy and more technology for the improve the environmental. So I think maybe on the way we also think about how can we keep the balance. Yeah, because I think the last year we have spent some time in Heilongjiang, and maybe they just say we have closing down some industry for some coal mining, and some coal, or the electricity by the coal. But we think maybe it's not only, that is one aspect. The other aspect, we should also think about how can we create more job opportunity for all of our workers. So I think maybe we just keep balance between the green and inclusive. Yeah, so that is sometimes maybe some province maybe have not very good, but I think for the whole China, we think about we should keep balance between green and inclusive. Yeah. The second one is more technological. Maybe we can talk about it later. Okay? Yeah, because in China now, you can see the labor supply is not slow down, it's decline. So far we have the problem. Sometimes maybe we face the problem for the unemployment, but sometimes we also face a lot of problem. It's difficult to find a very good labor force for some technology industry or some dirty work. So I think maybe now we are in the transitional. So I think we face a lot of problem, maybe not only for the modeling work, maybe just for the practical work. Thank you.
We do have time for another question, if there is one. I have one, which is connected with what you were saying just now, because to transfer, as you have in one of your scenarios, population workforce from rural to urban areas, it implies also that you need to upgrade the human capital, because you cannot just take a farmer and have a high-skilled worker. So you have also to take into account the problem of human capital formation, so education, and to upgrade the skills. Is there anything of this kind of measure in your scenarios?
Your scenarios, I don't have a special measure, but I think in fact, maybe recently the government, especially for the Ministry of Education, pay a lot of attention to the School of Technology. Yeah, because maybe before we just think about some university or something like that. But recently, I think the government just pay a lot of attention to the skilled labor. It's not only the high level, maybe also medium level. Now is a very important problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just.
Oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just a short one.
I try to Shantong, thank you very much for interesting presentation. I want to ask you about the materials consumption in Chinese economy. Currently, China, for example, consumes about 800 million tons of steel. How do you think, what can be approximately growth rate of materials consumption in Chinese economy till 2030, depending on your scenarios? For example, growth rate in innovative scenarios is, for example, what growth rate in innovative scenario, what growth rate in other scenarios? Consumption of physical volumes of material resources.
Manufacturing is decreasing, so I expect that also the use of materials is decreasing as well. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, I think one thing is investment rate. Because when before China have very high investment rate, especially a lot of investment to the infrastructure. So I think at that time, especially since 2002, because the investment rate is increased, also heavy industry share is increase. But But now is the investment decline. Also, the heavy industry is decline because the demand is much less than before. That's also the problem for the China regional problem, because in the northeast there is a lot of heavy industry. And so far, maybe the northeast, the growth rate is slowed down because the whole China's investment rate is decline. So I think maybe they are also caused some region is mainly relate on the heavy industry now is have problem. So I think maybe now in China the structure change between the heavy industry and also other industry also change. Before maybe we try to show our results based on the new input of the table to show the structure change. But I think maybe we can, if we can have some new result, okay, share with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we move to the following.